We're live. Dang. Okay, hello everyone. This is Small Axe Talks. This is a special coronavirus podcast we got going here. I have a very special and interesting guest, Robert Simyar. Thank you, man, for joining me.
Thank you.
Just to give everybody listening just kind of a quick background info on Rob. He is a healthcare professional. He is an internet entrepreneur, car enthusiast, I believe, as well as some things that I might not know about. So, Rob, if you don't mind, can we just start a little bit, just kind of like about your background, where you're from, leading up until you went like to school for dentistry?
Yeah, I was born in California, but my heritage is part Iranian and Russian. So the joke was I'm communist and terrorist, especially back in the day, right?
Oh.
But anyway, when the revolution happened in Iran, we fled and went to Sweden. My dad's an educator. He is basically a full-on professor and everything. So I had an educated family, and my family always wanted me to become a doctor. That's the tradition. Everybody's got to be a doctor or a lawyer in our culture. But long story short, we moved to Canada. I got my education there. Then I wanted to go to dental school. I went to Philadelphia for that, Temple University. And I got my dental degree, and I really wanted to get out of the East Coast and go somewhere very warm. And I loved Arizona. And first thing I did was go right here, stay in a Motel 6, and
Really?
find my first job. Yeah, I was broke. I give my stories, but I had like 250,000 student loans and 30,000 credit card debt, and a car that was worth about $400 and an air mattress. So that's how it started. But so I moved here, started working as a dentist, and basically pushed my way up through there.
Wow. So I know you said your parents kind of wanted you to become, a doctor. What made you interested in like dentistry, or wanted you to do that?
Well, again, a lot of it is whether it's a good thing or bad in our culture. Education is really important, and usually parents are so forcing you to become a doctor or dentist, lawyer, one of those prestigious types of choice of education. I mean, it's useful, of course, because you have a job. You're never going to be laid off. You're going to be self-sufficient. But it is part of that sort of lifestyle where parents kind of push you to be that student. And if you're not, they literally disown you. It's pretty strict. So it wasn't really my own free will that I became a dentist. It was more like you got to be a doctor. And I picked something that I enjoyed compared to other fields. So that's really what it came down to.
Okay.
But my loves and my passions were other things, which stemmed out of that. You make money, right, through dentistry, and then you can do businesses through the money you make and do things that you really want to do. So it's like a stepping stone.
Yeah. So how long did you practice dentistry?
Well, when it comes to actually doing it for pay, it was probably about 3-4 years. So not that long.
Oh, okay.
Volunteering, yes. And I was just telling Chelsea over there that I put my list. Right now we're still okay with the COVID situation, but if the hospitals do get overloaded, you only got so many nurses and doctors. So as a healthcare professional, I'm also there on the list. Next door by John C. Lincoln.
Really?
Yeah, that's the place. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
So anyway, but otherwise, no, I'm not working right now.
Okay. So I know you got into developing like your own video game Space Wars, and then you also got into the adult film industry. So how did that all come about? Was that when you were in dental school, or what happened?
Long story short, when I was really young, when I was 14, 15, I was developing like games and graphics, and I did this thing for Science Fair, tour of the solar system, back in the days of the Atari 2600. If you remember those days, we had Apple IICs and things like that. But I was good at graphics. I was good at developing stuff in that primitive state. And so that passion was always there. But you got to be a doctor. You got to be a doctor. This game stuff and this computer stuff is stupid.
Yeah.
Be a doctor. So I became a doctor, but that stuff was still there. At the same time, I had a passion for photography and videography, and I got really good with it. And I had a stint with Playboy.
Really?
Yeah,
No way.
This is the 90s.
As a photographer?
Yeah, it was in Hawaii and
Did
stuff.
you meet Hef?
Actually, I did.
No way.
It was a
Hell
totally
yeah.
different reason, but I was
Okay.
invited to the mansion because a girl I was seeing at the time who was there, and I took pictures of him while he was just chilling.
Yeah.
People mistake when I say doll industry like I'm some sort of sex performer or something. I'm just saying I was the videographer guy, and also I created the business, and I wanted a very classy kind of setup that was kind of different from what's the garbage is out there nowadays. So long story short, yeah, I created that. That's what really generated the revenue. Okay.
And when was this? When did you launch?
I started around 2004, 2003.
Okay.
And it's still active right now, but I've trained other people to do it for me, so I actually don't do any of the shoots anymore.
Okay.
And then the game passion is Space Wars, and that's I'm currently working as we speak.
Yeah.
But activity in that's doubled because of what's going on right now. So there's a lot of players and just people going nuts on that.
Because I know I found an article that somebody had done about you, and it was actually pretty good. But in that article, you said you had been working on Space Wars for like 20 years. So it was like,
well, yes. Like anything, look, let's say what's your dream project, right? But you don't have the revenue or resources to do it. No one's going to give you, $1 million to do it. So it's always in the back of my head. I have a book. I've written a novel for this. I have a backstory. I have the technical design. I have books full of just the logic behind all that. Like I do it on paper before it goes into the computer.
Okay.
And it was there, but I needed a developer team. So I hired one in Tucson that had made some games and spent 3 years developing it till now.
Wow. To
this date. So
and
it's just a passion project. Honestly, it's not making any money right now.
It's
just I wanted to make it.
And it's still is it completely done, or is it something that you have?
It's in beta, but it's fully operational and people are playing it, and really it's almost done.
Okay.
But then next step is you need a publisher, but that's another
big thing,
which is not easy.
So because you are good with what made you not want to go into the tech industry or something like that,
when I was young, people, believe me or not, but I have an article that actually proves it.
Yeah.
You know what anti-aliasing is?
No.
It's what, when you see graphics now, it's just normal to everybody, but the pixel edges are smoothed.
Yeah.
But with just the differentiation of color, so like if it's like a red edge, it'll be like a little lighter or darker, smooths everything out. It's just the pixels that changes in color, and I'd have to show you my article, but I had created that stuff way back when on my computer, and I even had an article for it. But more recently, say in the 2000s, NVIDIA comes out with anti-aliasing and all these. And if my dad had ever saw what I was doing there, and he had patented that stuff, I mean, every program, every graphical thing you use now is doing that technology. And so, I was there, but my dad didn't really care. He was like, his mind was one thing. This is stupid stuff you're doing on the computer, little nerd in the basement. I was a nerd in the basement. Big, thick glasses and all that. And he was like, "Go work out," and you're no girls in your life, or what, that sort of thing.
That's hilarious because everybody that is like a winner today is basically a nerd,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
The nerds are winning.
The nerds, yeah. Well, all my nerd friends, unfortunately, are not, but the ones I knew back in high school, they're very, very lonely people, and I feel bad for them. But
that's not good.
But yeah, some do, yeah.
So I know you recently got back from Hawaii. You said you have family that lives there?
And my mom's there. I bought her a place there and things like that. And this, again, current situation, she's older. She's in her 70s, so I have to be a little more aware of her health, because she's the one who could be at risk more than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely kind of a weird time right now, for sure.
I love Hawaii, so I do love that's my second destination. I skip California, go to Hawaii.
Really? Okay, so you just have... you have a home here and then in Hawaii.
Yes, correct.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So just I just kind of want to ask a little bit more just about the FTV, that company.
Sure.
I know, again, in that same article that I had read, you had mentioned that, and we were talking about this on the patio, just about on the trail and how you treat people. And ever since, for people listening, like I've met Rob originally on a trail here in Phoenix and like years ago, and I'd seen him and he was always like super nice, would say hi.
Say hello, just be friendly on the trail. He's a stranger, but say hi. It's not a hard thing
you were
to do.
always like positive and nice. So, and I know you had mentioned, just tying it back into that article, that being in that industry, people automatically kind of have this like reaction to people, sometimes in a negative way. So it's like, how has that does that continue to like affect your life, or do you just
Well,
kind of like not pay attention to it anymore?
I keep it separate. In fact, that whole part of my life wasn't really known or exposed to the public until I had a little stint back in 2008 where I took this Lamborghini, and the southeastern loop of the 202 had just been finished. They had basically created this 5-lane highway, and I'm sure you know where that area is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this downhill, tailwind, rubberized asphalt, 5 lanes, and all the on-ramps are closed. So what I did with a few of my friends, we created this little perfect situation to do a speed run where there was no cars on the road, and it was perfectly safe unless I crash and kill myself. But the video went viral back then. It was all over the news. And then they discovered that I also run the site.
Ooh.
And then it just exploded. For 2 weeks, it was on all local news. It was on TMZ and everything.
Yeah.
And that's when you could say my privacy, like, that sort of
disappeared.
Now I'm exposed and everybody knows I'm that guy. So that's when I was okay, whatever. I'll just have interviews or people can ask me about the site or something like that. Because FTV also can stand for fashion television.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's what I used to do was fashion shoots back when I was younger and doing just very much like modeling stuff that you see at modeling agencies. So that was an easy cover. But anyway, there's a stigma. There'll always be a stigma, even though nowadays people are doing selfies and nudes and one of the things I'm bothered by the way, is when you look at, for example, things like Twitter and stuff, you can have all kinds of adult stuff there and there's no regulation, and there's underage people posting stuff there all the time and there's no regulation, but no one talks about that, or Snapchat and things like that. So it's very skewed. It's a very skewed perception. But anyway, my stuff is clean. I mean, so it's just pretty girls.
Well, that's why I think it like you said, it's so interesting because we live in this time of like hypersexuality where you have all these rap songs that talk about like endless demeaning shit.
Sure, exactly.
And then you have, like you said, social media where it's like all these young girls are posing basically nude on their website. But then you also still have the people who are like, against, any type of porn and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's so bizarre, like what's going on.
There's a lot of conflict going on. My joke is, like, say in a state like Ohio, you got a lot of hypersexual people, but you also have a lot of religious suppression. And so you get this almost bipolar nature to that state. And you see, it's just one of the reasons why I know there's a lot of girls come in from Ohio and they say, my parents are really religious and they're really suppressing me. But then it backfires. It causes them to break out and do crazier things than if their parents were a little more liberal about just talking about sexuality and things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So where do you see that industry going? Because I know in that article
it's
you
dying.
had said, that's what you had said.
At least my business model is dying because everything's for free now. By the way, that's another plague that it plagues not just the industry, but it plagues people in general, because every kid has a cell phone. And now I'm getting to this point where it's 2020, and people, these girls that I work with, or their boyfriends or whatever, just talk about different things. You see that they have had this cell phone access since they were 12 or 13, or even 10 or 9, and they've had access to this free porn stuff for so long now, and that's how they got hypersexualized earlier. Or the social norms of, like, I need to do deep throat, or I need to do anal when I'm 12, right? And this is really bad. Thing is, with websites like mine, you got to be 18 to get any satisfaction out of that. Otherwise, you're not even going to get in with your credit card. But these free sites have messed things up, and I think they've really messed the young people's minds up.
Really?
So even though I'm in this industry, I don't like what this done, because back in the day, be like, oh, you got yourself a Playboy magazine. Oh my God, But it was like just girls or whatever, and guys, when they're young, they get horny. But this weird twisted stuff now, that you have to do all this crazy perverted stuff, and it's mental, and it's not healthy for kids, basically, right?
Do you think there's any chance that there would possibly be like any regulation at some point where like
no.
the government? No.
If they can't regulate Twitter and Snapchat, how are you going to regulate that stuff? Also, these big tube sites that are doing all this stuff for free, they're all hosted in places like Hong Kong or Eastern Europe. So you can't do any, block. It is no legal. How do you block it? There's no access to blocking it.
Really?
Like DMCA or whatever, you can ask, but it doesn't stop their companies. And nobody seems to know about this or talk about it, but the traffic to those sites combined are far bigger than what you get to Google, for example.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So, I mean, people are watching.
Yeah.
Even people who deny watching it, they're watching.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we talk a little bit about the cars for
Sure.
for a little
Okay.
bit?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you have? I know you're like a supercar enthusiast. So
Yeah, I mean, every guy like has their toys, right?
Yeah.
Guys like their cars or planes or boats or whatnot or guns. And my thing was cars. I don't have any watch, so I'm not a watch guy.
Yeah.
But some guys are fancy watch owners. And cars, I always love cars. I always like fast cars. And people always say, oh, yeah, I think, this is possibly, open to X-rated talk. Oh, you have a small dick. That's why you have fast cars.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's always funny like that. But, if you have a small dick, it's when you have a fast car, but you put loud exhaust. That's when you have a small dick. Because then you're like, look at me and listen to me. And then you get a flashy color. And then you're like, look at me again.
Yeah.
But I enjoy speed. I've always enjoyed, I do the track time and all that. And it's just that feeling of engines and stuff, whether it be a plane or a car, the power behind you. I find a big passion in that.
Yeah.
So I always loved futuristic cars, and the more modern they were, the better. I'm not into classics, so that's why the kind of cars that I got in this case, I have my Bugatti or SLR McLaren and things like that. But I sold the Bugatti Veyron because
You did?
yes,
Okay.
after 10 years of having it.
Really?
Because the costs are like over $100,000 a year. It's
Oh
just
my
too much of an
God.
expense.
To maintain it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a good thing I sold it more recently, because everything you see happening around you, luxury vehicles
Tanking.
are going to tank. The values are going to tank.
Yeah.
And people who borrow money to get these cars are going to put this on the market. And the dealerships that you see here are all going to be sitting on this lot of these expensive cars. So now's the worst time to be holding those kinds of vehicles,
Really?
especially if you need to sell them.
Yeah.
So I got out at a good time.
So what was that? I mean, how many Bugatti owners are there in the world?
Well, I'd say about 300.
That's
350.
it?
Yeah.
Really?
But most Bugatti owners have like 20, 30, 50, 100 cars.
Yeah.
I was a guy with 3 cars. I just really liked the Bugatti and I want to have it. That's all.
So did you have to go like on a waiting list to get it?
Yeah,
or
it was
like,
a 1 year and a half waiting list at the time.
Wow.
Now there's many used ones in the market, so you can go up and just buy one if you
Yeah.
wanted to. There were requirements, crazy stuff too at the point where like, you couldn't have had DUIs or you couldn't have had accidents or whatever and have a history of driving professionally with these cars. And there was like some little things they were being picky about,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't give it to sports stars or rock stars. It was all about this sort
Really?
of like little clique kind
Oh,
of thing
that's
you had to get in.
Huh.
It's different now, but back then it was so a little different.
Yeah.
They were very picky.
So was that kind of like the ultimate driving experience?
Yeah, there's nothing else that I ever experienced or feel than like that Bugatti. Like, you get all these supercars, your Ferraris, whatever, Lamborghinis, but
Yeah.
it just felt like you were flying a jet plane. It was the closest to flying, but on the ground.
Wow.
I can't explain the experience, but friends
Yeah.
that I would give rides to and things like that, they can all tell you it's like nothing else.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have a McLaren?
Yeah, this McLaren SLR and just a Tesla. That's it. I'm
Tesla.
down to 2 cars.
Okay, hell yeah. That ain't bad though.
No, the SLR is perfect. It's low cost. It's
Yeah.
an amazing car. It never gives me any trouble.
Yeah.
And it's timeless, so
Yeah.
always be there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I used to work at Schumacher.
Oh, there you go.
Mercedes.
Yeah, yeah. So
And that was the best job, honestly, that I've ever had, because when I worked there, I had never driven, like AMGs and stuff like that. But I think I might have, honestly. Do you go in there for service?
yeah,
I remember somebody coming in with an SLR, so I potentially might have.
yeah. There's not
driven-
many that much of out there. So
Yeah, that and
silver one.
Yeah.
Yeah, silver with red interior. That's mine.
That's yours? Hell yeah. Yeah, that and the SLS, the Gullwing,
Sure.
I always thought were beautiful. But I remember I drove, I don't know whose it was. It could have potentially been yours, but I drove an SLR just to the back lot one time. And I remember specifically in that vehicle just driving over the gate tracks.
Okay.
It was like you could drive over a pencil and fucking feel it with that thing. Like the suspension was so...
Well, yeah, it's a
tight.
stiff suspension. Yeah, it's not a luxury car. I mean, a
Yeah.
comfort car.
Yeah, it's a track car.
It is, but it's still got luxuries for what it is.
Yeah.
It's still a Mercedes, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Is there any other vehicles that you... I know you said like you have a Tesla.
I had the McLaren P1, I had the McLaren P412C, I had the Murcielago, I had the Aventador. I've had a couple of cars, but the Bugatti's always been my favorite. Nissan
Yeah.
GTR was my daily driver for 10 years, 12 years. I put over 180,000 miles into
No
two
way.
cars. Yeah.
Wow.
But those cars give you a lot of trouble after they get past 40, 50,000 miles. And I switched to Tesla at this point. It's like
Yeah.
something more reliable.
And do you like that, the Tesla?
Yeah, Tesla's fine. It's an amazing car. It's just boring, but
Is it? They're fast though, aren't
yeah,
they?
but it's like driving a computer. It's not like
Yeah.
driving a car. If you're a car or motor enthusiast, you're driving an electric vehicle and you don't feel anything, you don't hear anything,
Yeah.
and it's not a handling car. It's it just goes fast in a straight line. But it's a great car. I'm getting no complaints.
Yeah. Is there anything like just in the future wise?
Well,
that you
yeah,
would
I
be
was looking to
interested
get a McLaren 720S, which is a 300,000 something car.
Wow.
But seeing what was going on, Chelsea here, she knew me talking about this in January and early February about what's going to happen here, the timeline and everything, and no one believed me.
Really?
I was down to everything that's happened so far. It's been exactly the timeline I told people, even down to the National Guard kicking in around this time.
Really?
Back in February, I was talking about this and the rate of rate of infection. So one of the things I thought was, now's not the time to buy a car like that. It's just a bad idea. And don't forget what I said. After all this blows over, there's going to be tons of those cars sitting in the lot, people desperate to sell their used ones at a discount. So just wait.
Just again, like doing just some research, like Google research on your name. Like I pulled up like a stock page of. Are you into trading?
Well, that's the thing. So when that stuff, I sensed that the market's going to crash big. We're like, you're an idiot. Market's going to keep whatever. And I mean, there's an excerpt that I have. This funny. I said New York Stock Exchange is probably going to close. Blah blah blah. And people are like, you're fear mongering. You're an idiot. They don't do that kind of stuff. And there you go. And I even have a timeline 3 weeks from now, and it's exactly 3 weeks later. So yeah, I bought a lot of shorts. I sold all my stock. I loved Nvidia and Berkshire Hathaway, and I sold all those shares.
Wow.
And then I got some shorts. My mistake was I didn't hold on to the shorts for too long. So I sold them early when I could have made a whole lot of money to this point. But anyway, I didn't want to risk the money, and it's another story.
So what? Because like, just from like a millennial type perspective, like a lot of people. So like, for instance, I graduated. I went to Chaparral, so I graduated high school in 2009. So I graduated right after the housing crisis, and I have been in the workforce for the most part since then. And like, the frustration that a lot of young people have is just like, I can't. Again, the housing market is back up to levels that are kind of near where it was back in 2008. And then you have, like you mentioned, the student loan debt. A lot of people have crazy student loan debt. And then now you have this like coronavirus situation on top of that. How far do you think it'll go? Just like as far as like the market dropping out,
Oh, well, this is unlike anything we're ever going to have in our, since the beginning of, let's say, the market. This is worse than anything you can possibly imagine. Okay.
Damn.
I'm not saying that coronavirus is a killer, and we're not talking about the mortality. I'm saying the impact on the economy is going to be like nothing else. Not even the Great Recession and nothing like that. And we talk about housing market and what happened, the market bursting and the banks collapsing and so on, like Bear Stearns. That was bad. But this is affecting every aspect of any kind of industry, except for maybe gaming or porn. But reality is, look, everybody's losing their job or getting reduced in hours. And how do you stimulate that? You can't. Even like Canada is stimulating by covering people's rents and mortgages and giving them a stipend or something like that and being awesome about that. But they don't have the money. So, eventually the country itself suffers, right? Yeah. But that's the only thing they can do. And this is happening everywhere. So no, this is the worst thing we ever seen, unfortunately. And the market is one aspect of it, but everybody's lives are going to be affected. And I think that consumption we've had all this time, I mean, think about it, every year it's getting better and better. Buy. Let's get some, Botox and everything's just about, all these luxuries are kind of going to be very, very limited. And people are again starting to get used to borrowing money. And you see all the beautiful condos opening up in Scottsdale, so many of them building up just nonstop.
The Ritz. How about the Ritz? That whole compound.
Doesn't matter, just everywhere. Okay, all these new style ones with their 3 or 4 stories and so on. You kidding me? Those are all going to go broke.
Yeah.
And the people who've already spent money on getting those places, they can't afford it. And the government's going to give you $1,000 in April or May.
Yeah.
Who cares? Now, there's going to be more stimulus and more help on that. But the point is all these people need jobs and they can't support. This whole system is on borrowed money. And unfortunately, we're kind of screwed. And I don't want to be a doomsayer, but this is the facts. And it's not, Corona's a big deal and the hospitals are going to get hit really hard. But it's not really the Corona that's going to hit you directly. It's the opportunities for our next 10 years are going to be limited.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So anybody I tell, any young person I tell, don't go spending on stuff. Don't go buy, I want some furniture now, or I want to do an update of this, or I want to get new. No. Hoard cash. I'm serious. Hoard cash and just use it for most important things. Like imagine if it was a end of the world kind of thing, and I'm not saying it is, but just get your necessities and just wait it out. Just take your time. Don't rush into buying stuff.
Yeah.
Leave it alone, okay? Just play more games or whatever. Do more podcasts.
Yeah. But don't waste your money on stupid shit.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Seriously, and I'm being serious.
Yeah.
You can't see a domino effect, all the things that are happening right now. Nobody seems to look at the big picture.
Well, that's why, again, I told you before we got on here, I tried starting a business before this, and that's the first time I ever tried starting a business, and it was something that took a lot of cash you had to put into.
Hell yeah.
So it's like doing this is what I'm hoping is like after you spend the initial cost of setting it up, basically all you're investing is your time and the people who's coming on time. So that's why I think it's interesting what you've done with your businesses to where you've basically, like you said, you've done most of the work, so you've been able to take most of the profits.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've learned in life is it's better if you can do the work yourself, do it yourself. Don't hire a whole bunch of people to do it for you. Learn how to do it. Improve on your own skills if that's your passion. And then that way you don't have other people to pay to do it because their passion is never going to be as strong as yours because they're getting paid to do it for you, right? So the idea is work on your love or your passion, but at the same time, don't burn money on it. Try to do it yourself, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And you have this whole podcast set up and everything's great, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
So you don't have any additional costs. But look at the after effects again of what I'm talking about with the economy and coronavirus. How does YouTube monetize? How do you monetize?
Yeah.
Advertising. Who's going to advertise now? Who's going to put money to what? Buy new socks? I mean, what what are you going to advertise right now? Right now it's all cutbacks and stuff. So how does YouTube monetize and how the people who are YouTube stars or influencers going to sell stuff now?
Yeah.
Right? So think about it in the big picture and see how difficult it is from now on. That's why, again, save money.
Yeah. Okay. Good advice. So one thing I also think is interesting too about you is at least I could not find, do you have any personal like social media accounts?
Just a Facebook.
Really?
I think it's a waste of time. Like my money's never going to come from social media,
Yeah.
I mean,
but
it's just a lot of time.
Yeah, but normally you see like anybody who's gotten to the level that you have, and they buy these amazing supercars. Like they're on Instagram, posting pictures.
Well,
and
you want to show off, make yourself feel better with likes,
Yeah.
or you're doing it for your own pleasure.
I know, yeah.
That's all I have to say. Right? I mean, I could keep showing off, and again, I could have brought my fancy car. Like, hey, okay, make sure you do a video of my car, and I'm gonna go past you and put it in your podcast, okay? No, it's just for me to enjoy and whatever. So that's not the point. And sometimes I think it's an insecurity of some of us nerds who, we're like losers when we're younger, so now we have to show it off. But I'm happy. I mean, the point is that where I'm at now, I'm comfortable and everything's great. And especially what's going on in this world right now, it's just a good place to be where we live, the money we have, the sanctuary we got. So that's what we should be happy about. I'm not trying to show off or rubbing into people's faces. So anyways, to me, it's a waste of time. So I'm not interested.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
I don't care.
Yeah. So how, just because you are and have been in that healthcare field, like how far, because people, like everybody knows in the U.S., initially people freaked out a little bit. They went to the grocery stores. We can't buy TP or paper towels, So, but I think, in my opinion, I think that's going to kind of settle down a little bit.
It will.
Yeah, you think so too?
Although, also what I've been saying is the peak infection is not until, we're just starting to see. Like you and me may have it right now. We just don't know.
That's
so
true.
I'm looking at mid-April towards the end of the April that we can be like, okay, it's starting to die down now or starting to slow down now. So I think we might see a little more panic, especially if they bring in the National Guard and things like that. That freaks people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can I go out? Am I going to get fined? Someone's going to shoot me or what?
Yeah.
You know, there's all that kind of crazy thoughts. And there's a lot of people passing out like things in social media, like wrong information, like they're coming to get you, or the military's going to come and shut you down. You know, it gets a little nutters. In fact, there's a friend of mine who's a helicopter pilot, a Marine.
Really?
And he came in with Scottsdale Airport the other day, and we were recording him flying in with these attack helicopters.
Oof. Oh
okay,
my God.
and he was just transporting the vehicles. He's just doing his routine. It has nothing to do with anything. But already, my friend who put it on social media, people were like, "Oh, what are they going to do with that?" And there was talk about like, are they going to, like basically be riot, taking people down in case there's riots. Like, no, it got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So the panic is a little bit too much, and we have our food supply chain is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with our food supply chain. Our infrastructure is totally fine. Look down to Amazon, everything's fine. People not falling. You ever seen what's it called? Contagion, the movie?
No. Okay. So can I just mention one little side thing? So I saw they just added that to Netflix, so I want to watch it. But also, me and my dad have been watching a series came out on Netflix this year at the end of January called Pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck? What are the odds, man?
Well,
Before a pandemic.
This was bound to happen. I've
Yeah.
been saying that too, that we have to have something like this happen. And my bigger fear is not this again. I tell my friends that this, virus is, look, again, 2% mortality rate. It really affects a much older crowd. You guys are fine. Even there might be some scarring in your lungs if you get it or whatever. But it's the super bug from all the sterilization and everything. When they're spraying the streets with sterilized stuff and all that, all we need is a crazy superbug that is not treatable or increases the mortality rate. And why I bring up that movie is that mortality rate was like, anybody got infected, started foaming at the mouth, 2 or 3
Really?
days and dying, right?
Yeah.
Most people were dying from that. If we get something like that, let's say an Ebola that was more airborne and affected us like the flu in this way of transmission, oh man.
That's bad.
Then that's when you should start panicking, hoarding, and bunkering up. But I think that can happen within our lifetimes. I'm not.
Oh my God.
So at least this prepares us for the real one.
It's like a wake-up call.
Yeah. Understand? So this is bad, but it's not what could really
End
be.
of the world bad.
Yeah, it's not World War Z or anything.
So you think, because I have seen like videos of, in China, they're like in whatever the subways or whatever, and you think that's bad when they're spraying that whatever.
Of course, it eliminates that, but it also is creating a kind of new situation where new virus and new bacteria that become resistant. We just won't see it for a while. You understand?
Yeah.
So we're treating it like we're treating it like with a hammer, than with a precision. You have no choice. So.
Yeah. So what do you think about, because me and my dad, we're like, we don't cook at all. So we like 90% of the time we eat out. And so far, okay, you might agree with me. Then so far we've been happy that, Doug Ducey and whatever local officials have not completely closed down restaurants. Do you agree with that? That it's still takeout is okay? And
Look, it's all about you taking care of yourself. If you're truly sick, you shouldn't be exposing other people. As simple as that. If you feel you got symptoms, then you shouldn't be exposing people. At the same time, the very simple rules that they've been talking about is totally valid. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. That's all. Follow those rules and you're fine. We're not saying we're having social gatherings at bars and stuff. We're going to get takeout. So these businesses at least have a chance to survive.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of the things that, was heart-wrenching for me. It's weird for me to think about, but on NPR, this lady, I forget the restaurant, it was called Breadfruit, I think it was called.
Oh, I've heard of that Jamaican place. Right?
Yes, and she was crying because she was like, this closure is going to ruin me for life. I've built this for 15 years. I have these employees and so on. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
That because of this, even if she was allowed to open 2 weeks from now, she didn't think she could open up because of just her infrastructure and the food that gets wasted and her storage and all, and she wouldn't have the money to start, and that everything she built and this whole business she had died in one day like that. Everything collapses. So yeah, I don't like the fact that they're closing everything up. I know some people say that's irresponsible, but businesses need to thrive and people need to make money, and it's getting a little bit the other direction. It's going too overboard. Back in the early days, I was saying, again, you guys are not reacting at all now, or overreacting perhaps.
Yeah.
So there's a nice happy balance somewhere in the middle. And also we live in Arizona, so on the plus note, look, We don't have this cooped up environment. We have a lot of our own spaces.
Yeah.
And if it truly happens to be a seasonal type of thing, that is that during the summer we'll find less of this infection until maybe wait till next winter for it to resume.
You think it could restart? Like it could start back up again?
Well, why not? It's just it's like the flu. Does it go away forever?
Yeah, that's true.
My theory is, and eventually in the long run, is that we'll have a vaccine. And like the flu vaccine, you go to Walgreens where to get the vaccine. This will be another one. It'll be, okay, COVID, so, or they'll have a concoction where both of them at the same time or whatever. It's just part of our life. But there's an additional vaccine we take. That's what I think
is going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's not going away. Not like SARS or whatever. It's not going away.
Wow.
Because you see how it spread. If SARS was like that, it would have spread already everywhere. It wouldn't have been isolated to, 8,000 people in that little town. Okay?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense that one didn't and this one does. So it's not the same.
Crazy, man. So is there anything else that you see, like economically, like the government is going to have to do to help keep the economy afloat? Because you have all these like restaurant workers and hospitality people that are potentially.
Unfortunately, again, there's going to be a federal support, of course, that $1,000, which won't really mean much overall. Yeah.
What about like rents? You think, and mortgages? You think?
Well, like I said, in the UK and Canada, for example, but they're more socialistic countries.
Yeah.
They are supporting the people for a year without paying rent and so on, and government workers. And I think in UK, don't quote me on it, but they're going to be paying a certain amount, like a minimum of like $2,700 a month.
Holy shit.
For everybody, who gets laid off.
Really?
So there's that support system. Here it's a little more difficult. And look, when they say 2 trillion stimulus, divide that to, let's say, 100 million people here. We're not going to include kids or whatever. That's a trickle per person, right? So we need the businesses to run. And what I love about Arizona is that we have a surplus in this state, right? A lot of states have deficits, but they've built up their rainy day fund after their experience in 2008. They have really worked hard on having a surplus. So that can help protect businesses and stimulate this state a lot better than some other states. So I do love that about Arizona. Just like our water support system, by the way. We have these huge reserves.
Do we?
Yeah, a long time ago, the founding whatever in Arizona or Phoenix, they created these reserves, and we've had these reserves for a long time. California has all these water restrictions. Nevada has all these water restrictions, right? Notice we don't have it here. Watering lawns. There's a reason. It's not because we're stupid, but we have this extra reserve.
Okay.
So I like that forward thinking that Arizona's got.
Yeah.
So think of that way, that at least this state will be better off in the long run compared to some other states.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I love it here, man. This is literally... I've lived in a few other states, and by far, I mean, I
would never want to be anywhere else.
Really?
I'm happy here. Yeah.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to kind of add about just kind of what's going on recently, or anything else you're doing in the future, like business wise? Do you have other businesses that you're...
I've been a machine. My whole family is just family of workaholics. My mom's 73 years old. She still doesn't stop. She's like a machine.
Really?
I'm like, slow down. And I don't want to be one of those that just is a machine for the rest of their lives. All everybody says I will be, but, slow down, smell the, trail run, just enjoy the environment, live a little. Of course, this COVID situation's changed things. So in a weird way, you don't have as much to do, right? It's not like you can start a business now.
Yeah.
Unless
it's online.
Unless it's some sort of form of entertainment.
Yeah.
But who's going to pay for it?
That's true.
Right?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So again, you have to look at all aspects. Just because I got a great idea, it doesn't mean it can work unless you can see how it can be monetized, and if there's an actual source of money. If nobody has money, they're not going to pay anyway. Netflix is $10 a month or whatever, no biggie. But I'm not going to fork out $100 for some product. Yeah. So for now, no, I'm just going to take it easy. Maintain those two businesses as they are doing better in this situation, which is a twist. But for now, that's all you can do is maintain your health, be nice to people, have a positive attitude, and especially now, just bring out good karma and not bad karma.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's awesome. I also want to ask you one more thing. Is there anything, again, because you seem so relaxed, and I know you're obviously, we
all have stresses, believe me. Of course, I'm stressed out too, but
is there anything you do? Are you into meditation or yoga or healthy health? What's your diet like or anything like that?
I eat what I want.
Do you?
I eat what I want, but it's just to make sure you maintain your exercise. I mean, you don't go pigging out or whatever, but I still have my favorite cakes and steaks and whatever. No, I think it's more about regulating what you eat, as in like just no weird keto diet or whatever. Just maintain what you eat and have regular exercise, right? We're computer guys, so we're sitting on the computer. I'm sitting on the computer sometimes 8 to 12 hours in a day.
Really?
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
But you go out and run for an hour, you go to
Mm-hmm.
the gym or whatever. So you just keep active and your mind is healthier. And you talk about meditation. My meditation is the trail run.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The
me too.
endorphins and all that clears your mind. My mind is so much sharper. Creativity goes up. Everything is improved after a run.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So also Space Wars, just for any gamers out there, what's kind of, can you give people just kind of like the lowdown if anybody's interested in playing that game?
You know how nowadays Fortnite and those kinds of games are the thing. It's because people are all ADD. But there's still a crowd out there, usually an older crowd, or especially an Eastern European crowd too, who like that turn-based strategy where it's like thinking. It's like you're playing chess.
So what is that? Because I don't know that much. What does that mean?
Oh, so turn-based strategy is like, instead of, how you fly around and shoot.
Yeah.
So this is a space game. Instead of flying around and shoot arcade style, it's more like you have pieces, like chess pieces or whatever on the board. And so you're strategizing like, okay, I'm going to decide on this tactical move, and then the opponent does, I want to decide this tactical move, and you engage in battle, but it's like take your turn, my turn. Right when you play any board game, you're not doing it all at once. You're playing by turns.
Okay.
So that's the thing. But that can be boring to most people. In fact, it is.
Okay.
So my game is a niche game. So it's more of a thinking game. It's less an action game, even though the visuals and the action is there.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's still fun. But it requires patience, and it's only for a certain type of player.
So can you play, is this playing against like
other players? Yeah, it's a multiplayer.
players, okay.
You'd heard of World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
So this is massively multiplayer like World of Warcraft, but it's turn-based, which has never really existed. Okay. There's no MMO, turn-based MMO really. There might be some small here and there, but overall it's not a niche that's really been occupied.
Yeah.
So it's just something I wanted to do. It's, again, very technical. It's very strategic. It's a very tactical game. And there's just nothing like that out there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make it, and it was my, again, passion. I love space. I love spaceships. I wanted to make spaceships. And all these great designs for different spaceships and different races. The book I wrote, the backstory and things. It's just something I wanted to get out there because I really had something.
Yeah.
And now it's come to fruition.
Awesome. Cool. Well, anybody who's interested, spacewars.com, right? Go download it, play it, do all that stuff. Robert Simyar, thank you very much, man, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
I love talking to you, and I'm sure I'll see you on the trail at some point. So stay healthy, happy, anybody who's watching, listening to this, and thank you, man. Again, I appreciate it.
Thanks.